toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
That sounds like a party.
My voice is like halfway gone this week, so it's just not like normal. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are on the air everywhere, heard all over the country on great radio stations like...
that one.
We still don't know what radio stations we're on.
Somebody send us an email and tell us.
At some point, they're going to tell us. This is fairly new. We've only been doing this for like 4 or 5 weeks on radio, but we envisioned the show originally as a radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza. So we've now successfully launched into all of those venues, and of course we're heard all around the world on great streams and video platforms like YouTube and Spotify and all the others, wherever you get your podcasts. Even if you're at some of the weird ones like Deezer.
If you can't find us, you're not looking.
That's right. That's right. We're everywhere. We're like Roy Kent. We're every effing where. So welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. It is show number 327, and we are very excited because we not only have a special guest, we also have a guest. Yeah. So welcome first to our special guest, and we are really pleased to welcome Rachel Bloom, who is with Beam Suntory and specifically with Maker's Mark. And you can see the Maker's Mark bottles here on the stand.
So beautiful.
They're so pretty, aren't they? Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
First time we've had you on, so this is very exciting for us.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here.
It's not nearly as exciting for us to have guests who've been on like just so many times.
Right.
Like this guy. We're always thrilled to have Alan Denny back on the show.
Hey, every now and then I get to pop in.
I like pod crash is what you do. Every now and then we invite you, but most of the time you just pod crash.
True. Yeah. How can I not want to be on one of the top 4% of all podcasts worldwide?
You do realize that, Rich. We are in fact in the top 4% of podcasts in the world, and I can explain why. It has nothing to do with anything that Ian or I have accomplished, except for the fact that a recent statistic came out that said that only 4% of all podcasts ever, A, are still around, and B, did an episode last week. And we qualify for both of those. So, ladies and gentlemen, Smokin' and Toastin' in the top 4%, of all podcasts ever, giving ourselves a small round of applause. So we're really excited about getting to the Maker's Mark. We have a lot going on in today's show. We're going to be tasting some, I think, very interesting beers from Ingenious Brewing Company, one of the most creative breweries, I think, in the entire United States.
I think every single time I have a conversation with Alan, we talk about Ingenious.
They are just a little north of us here. They're up in Conroe, Texas. They have a Berliner Weiss that we're going to be tasting today, and it's called Join the Tart Side. And maybe Adam will put the graphic up of the B-roll because it's got this very sort of Star Wars vibe to it, Join the Tart Side. And it's interesting because when you think of Ingenious, you have a tendency to think of either they're like, about every 3 hours they put out a new IPA, and it's something crazy and wild. Yeah, and then they have some amazing stouts and porters as well.
It's like an orange sherbet IPA, or
something crazy. But this is a Berliner Weiss style ale. So interested in checking that out. And then from another of our favorite breweries, Dogfish Head Craft Brewery in Milton, Delaware, we'll be tasting their double golden ale called Citrus Squall.
I haven't tried that.
That sounds interesting, right? And then, of course, we're doing all favorites today because probably my personal favorite brewery in Austin, Texas, is 512.
Oh, it's very good.
And Ian has brought us their 2022 whiskey barrel-aged double pecan porter. So that plus
I'm
the Maker's
pretend
Mark.
like I've never had it before, but
okay, yeah.
Dang, it's good.
Okay, very good. We're looking forward to that.
Sounds good.
We'll also be trying, I believe, 5 different expressions. Is that right, of Maker's Mark?
That's right. These are all our Maker's Mark Private Select, which is a program that allows us to create completely custom recipes. They're all completely unique from one another. And so these 5 are 5 expressions in one series that we did in partnership with Spec. Specs, our liquor store here in Texas. And this ode to Texas, you'll see each of them has a very Texas-y theme to it.
Cool. Not only is obviously Texas whiskey becoming such a thing, but your predecessor, Mr. Krockenberger, brought some of your expressions to an event we had called the Whiskey Sniff. And I remember when it was close to being over, I walked over, because there were several of these really special releases like this. I walked over to the booth he was manning, and I said, there's somebody at the front door that wants to see you. And I took what was left, it was only a little bit left in each bottle, of these really special Maker's Mark, because they were so good. And so I took them home. And I've finished them now. They're gone. So I'm very excited about being able to taste some of these. And as if all of that weren't enough.
But wait, there's more.
Ian has brought a mystery spirit today.
Oh, it's mysterious.
So we'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do, also want to tell you we have some cigars to watch for that we'll be telling you about. We are going to try to talk about this 15 rare beers that you are going to want to track down
Right now.
Yeah, right now. So I think it's going to be very interesting. And as if all of that weren't enough, there is actually still more. Our most popular segment on the program is called Drinking News. It's where we bring you a story from the news that is, often, very, very often actually, about drinking. But even when it's not, it's always best to be listened to if you've been drinking.
We usually have.
By the time we get to Drinking News, we've already been drinking, so we qualify. Today's Drinking News teaser headline is, if you're drunk, don't try this at home. Actually, don't try it anywhere. All right, so we'll look forward to getting to that. Oh, by the way, another thing, I've been seeing more and more about this, and I have a short list we'll try to get to if we can today. But not only is non-alcoholic beer becoming a real emerging category in the beer, non-alcoholic spirits are becoming a thing too. And there's an actual article I picked up that we might have a chance to go to about the 4 best non-alcoholic whiskeys. Do you guys have a non-alcoholic whiskey?
At Maker's Mark specifically, not at this time.
Okay. See, I love that answer personally, but that's just because I'm still trying to figure out what the point is of the non-alcoholic. But I guess there are some people that really shouldn't drink, but they shouldn't drink alcohol, but they still might want to enjoy the taste. So.
And don't really want a Shirley Temple.
Right. Or maybe they're the designated driver. So I can see where those things are important. So anyway, we'll hopefully talk about that as the program goes on. Ian, I don't want to wait any longer. Let's break out your mystery spirit here. We're already halfway through our first segment. That looks cloudy and homemade. Am I right about either of those things? You guys have to understand the last
My uncle
time
make go blind.
Oh, no.
The last time Ian brought a mystery spirit on this program, it was Malort. And I was Malorted, not once, but
that's
twice
not
by
the
this
last
man.
time it was the mystery spirit. The last time I brought mystery spirit was barrel-aged Malort.
Oh, well, excuse me. And barrel aging does so much to improve
It
the
does something
Malort
to Malort,
experience.
yes, it
Yeah.
does. It definitely
dear God.
changes it. So
you gotta picture them there at the distillery going,
So this
you know
is
what we could do to make
making-
this better.
this is 2B60, okay?
Okay.
And this is an experience.
By the way,
just
I
so you
am, so I don't need to worry about what
2B.
it's going to be like. Tubi 60.
TUBI 60.
Oh, Tubi. Okay.
Tubi.
Now, Tubi is one of those. There's like 800 different streaming services that do movies with commercials. Tubi is one of those. I think it's owned by Clear Channel, which already
sense.
makes me
Which already
dislike
gives
it.
this a
Yeah.
good. So this is actually made in Israel.
Oh, okay. Is there a meaning to the word Tubi?
I have no idea what the
Okay.
meaning of the word tubi is.
All right. So.
But this is a spirit made a new spirit made with lemon, herbs, flower, and tree extract, specially designed for refreshing.
Wait a second. Tree extract?
Tree. Yes, they squeeze a tree, and apparently, especially designed.
I so don't trust
for
you.
a
You realize
refreshing
this.
and pleasurable experience.
Oh, well.
Refreshing and pleasurable.
Yeah.
So bottled
Those are
by
good
2B60 Limited, Oviata Street 18, Haifa. I'm slaughtering it, of course. Produced
Haifa, yeah.
in
that's
Israel and
Yeah.
imported by Tex Avivi Importers, Austin, Texas.
All right. So you're going to tell me where you got this, or are you just
So,
going to?
so it was my birthday last week, and we went out to Austin and hung around and had fun. And we got this hotel right there on 35, the Aiden by Best Western. Pretty okay little hotel.
Yeah.
And it's walking distance from a little place called the Whip Inn, which has
I love the
yeah.
Whip Inn.
I mean, okay,
Oh,
so you
yeah.
guys know.
You got to remember, I went to college in Austin, so the Whip Inn has received
So the
much
Whip Inn
of
was
my
fantastic.
money. Yeah.
But right next to it is a liquor store, and they had this at that liquor store. And my brothers pitched in for this.
How nice
My
of
brothers
them.
and a
I
friend
don't trust
of
your
mine,
brothers
Nick
any more than I
Daniel,
trust you, by the way.
pitched in for this, and we got it, and we all tried some of it.
Uh-huh.
Well, anyway, so I'm going to pull up a few facts about this while we all take a
Okay.
a drink.
Are we ready? Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, here we go.
Cheers. And then while you're enjoying your sip, I'll let you know a few things about it. 2B60 is about happiness. In its essence, it's a drink made and developed to provide positive and uplifting.
By happiness, you mean the happiness of the guy who's punking us.
Did
That's
you
what
pour
you mean.
dirt in Malort?
It's a drink made
that's a
and
very
developed
good
to provide a
description.
positive and uplifting kind of feel. If you ask people who love to drink 2B,
Yeah. Oh,
they are
people-
most likely to point out that feel is the main reason why they like it so much, not so much the taste.
like. I feel like
I'm
vomit.
reading this off of the 2B website.
Dude, this is awful.
Feel-
This is Malort level awful.
This is horrible.
The feel is what immediately jumped out at me
Right.
before I even tasted it. I was a bit surprised
Yeah.
by the
Oh, it's,
mouthfeel.
I just took a second drink and then wondered why did I do that?
It's got a certain lemony bitterness to it.
Lemony bitterness. Thank you for that.
It's got it's got bite and appeal. If we're talking about like lemon peels, like
Right. Oh, it's
peel.
got some
definitely got
citrusy-
like a peel in it
Yeah,
because that's what
yeah.
it tastes like, lemon peel.
Kind of like, you ever get a lime that you've had for too long, you haven't cut it yet, and the edges of the green lime have gone brown?
Yes.
That's the peel you're talking about.
The best thing about this is after you take 2 or 3 sips, you really start to get the bitter, woody thing going on in there. That's a lot like the.
I'd just like to point out that you just started a sentence with the best thing about this.
There's nothing best about this.
No, thank
This
you,
is
Alan.
horrible.
It's unique.
So
That's,
and
that's
then-
the only word you can use for it.
it is unique is a good descriptor, right?
I don't know. I don't know if that's good or not. That's just like, oh, I mean, I know this is not good. I don't know if unique is good. as a
So
way to describe it.
after we enjoyed this, a friend of mine looked up 2B60 to find out, and he sent me a message that said apparently we've been drinking this wrong, and he sent me this picture.
Okay.
Mm.
Oh, so
Apparently
you have to show that
this.
to the
So,
camera.
that's
Apparently that is the way.
This
to,
is how you're supposed to enjoy it.
Okay.
So what we're looking at is an Abercrombie and Fitch ad from the 90s.
I like the guy in this picture has a pour spout attached to his tubie, and he's just got it up again.
Oh my God. See, I remember.
And nobody has a shirt on, so we should apparently be shirtless
I
and with
remember-
sunglasses enjoying
Yeah,
this.
I
I'm
remember
not going to
the-
go there, but you know.
There was a time when I might have participated in an activity like that, but that was back when I did tequila shots. I haven't done tequila shots in years.
Yeah.
If it's not good enough to sip, I don't want it.
Well, there's that.
And by the way, this is not good enough
No,
to
it's
sip.
pretty
so
bad.
I do not want
But
it.
so you can now say that you've experienced it, and that's what matters.
Well, and one of the things that we believe this program to be about, and I'm very serious about this, is we try to sample as many of these things as possible so that we can tell you, hey, this is something you might or might not be interested in. And in this case, you might not.
you might not, yeah.
You might not. So that was very interesting. We'll talk to you a little bit about cigars that we had this week coming up in the next couple of segments. And I'm hoping that we're going to wait another segment or two before we start with the Maker's Mark, and I'm just hoping that somehow this taste will go away.
Yeah, good luck with that.
We'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and in some cases, really awful spirits.
In some cases,
the
not
one
so
we just-
fine spirits.
Yeah, not so fine. Ian, I know we have a lot to cover on the show today, so I want to jump right into it and ask you if you've had an opportunity
I
to smoke anything interesting.
I sat down today with my buddy Alan. I smoked an HVC 10th anniversary double Toro coming in at 6.5 by 50.
That sounds
on
good.
the size. The wrapper, Nicaragua, Jalapa Corojo 99, Binders Nicaragua, Fillers Nicaragua, Corojo 99, Corojo 2012, and Corojo 98. That's a whole bunch of different Corojo blends. Obviously, it's a Nicaraguan Puro. The appearance, light chocolate, milk-looking kind of wrapper, smooth with some veins, oily and leathery to the touch. inconsistent firmness overall throughout the cigar. Single band. This is HVC 20th anniversary on it. The pre-light sniff on this, earthy and gentle barnyard notes, tea leaf, hint of coffee, some light fruit at the foot. The pre-light draw, I used a clip on it, had a medium draw, sweet and fruity pepper, and a tingle. I left a little tingle on the lips from the tobacco leaf. The initial light on this, it was a Nicaraguan pepper grenade, because you lit it and you didn't get the Nicaraguan pepper blast for a few moments.
Oh, so it took a little while to go
So
off.
it's kind of like puff, puff, 1, 2, 3. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So there's a Nicaraguan pepper grenade, pepper and toast with a nutty backbone on the initial light. The first third of this, massive plumes of dense smoke made for great smoke rings. Cedar and nutty notes lay down a foundation for pepper and toasty delivery system. A touch of leather and sweetness offsets the spice on the finish. Retrohale is sweet cedar and pepper. Solid ash, good burn. Second third of my cigar, fruity and nutty notes move forward and balance the pepper and toast. Intensity dips down to a medium without a drop in flavor. Cedar and leather on the finish. Retrohale's sweet cedar and pepper. Solid ash, uneven burn. The last third of this, I tended the burn super quick with the lighter. Tangy leather and sweet nuttiness weave throughout. Strength ramps back up to full and remains balanced with the pepper and toast. Retrohale is sweet wood and spices. Solid ash, perfect burn all the way through once I tended it.
Nice.
So this cigar was $15.20.
Okay, so that's
It was a pretty darn good cigar.
Yeah, it's a super premium.
But it gets a 4.5 on the price to quality. And the reason is because at $15.20.
It needs to wash your car for you.
Pretty much. I mean,
Right?
it's that's a pricey cigar.
It is.
And it wasn't a small cigar, but it was pretty pricey. So I feel like in that same price range, there's some Padrones out there and some other Plasencias and sticks like that really excel even in that price range. And this one, I would have been super happy paying $12 to $13 for it.
So our price to quality scale that we use on cigars, it's a 1 to 10 scale. But if we give something a 5, it means we feel like you got exactly what you paid for, right? It was not overpriced. It wasn't necessarily underpriced, but it was you got your money's worth. So to give something a 4.5 does not mean it's not a good cigar. It just means that maybe at that price range, the competition might overshadow it a little bit. So that's the way we look at it. So this is a short segment. I'm not going to have time to go into what I smoked. So rather than do that, I'll do that in the next segment. But Rachel, give us a little preview of what we're going to be looking at here when we go into your special Texas series for Maker's Mark.
Oh, a little preview. So as I mentioned, we have 5 different expressions that we're going to be tasting. And I will say that they are all pretty drastically different from one another.
I love this.
So I can either, whatever your preference is, I can kind of give you a quick rundown of some flavor profiles that we'll taste, or we can leave it up to you guys to taste them when you're ready.
I'm assuming that there's 5 of them for the 5 points of the Lone Star, correct?
Oh.
Let's go with that.
Let's go with that. Yes, I think that's very good.
Retroactively, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I tell you what. We'll tell you what we get, and then you can tell us if we're anywhere close to what we're supposed to be getting out of that, because we're amateurs at this, but we've had a lot of practice, and we intend to practice more.
That's right.
In just a moment. It's Smoking a Toast, and we will be right back. Oh, I love that sound. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasted. Our program's all about craft beer, fine
Why
spirits.
does this mic smell like beer?
And hand-rolled cigars. It's because it's in tribute to Billy Joel, Piano Man. That's why. So I just wanted to mention, by the way, that as we're getting into this, I've now decided that I will not ever take a chance on trying to watch the Tubi streaming movie network, because it's got the same name as that awful stuff that you poured us in the first segment, and you've ruined it for me, Ian. That's what I'm trying to say. There are some things that I love, though, and one of them, if you've watched the show a time or two, you may have come across this fact that I am an enormous fan of the tobacco blendings of a man named AJ Fernandez.
And you can tell by the tattoo that you have on your arm. It says, I heart.
Well, you should
AJ.
see the one on my lower back, the tramp stamp. You haven't lived till you've seen that one. But here at Smoking and Toasting, I'd like to mention that we've never been invited to tour AJ Fernandez's fields and factory in Nicaragua, which kind of surprises me a little bit, seeing as I am a total geek fanboy for his products. The man's a genius. He's a master chef. He's a mysterious wizard of tobacco. He's the Obi-Wan Kenobi of cigars. Am I embarrassing myself yet? A little bit. Anyway, we've never been to his factory, but my understanding is when you're there and when the tour is over and at the end of the evening, AJ himself likes to come around and pass out these cigars of this particular blend of tobacco that he calls Last Call, and that's where the name came from, because he passes these around. I had always sort of understood Last Call to be AJ's more like bargain line, because it's a little less expensive than most of the cigars. Not that his prices are that high necessarily, but to be honest, I was sort of hesitant to try it because I was afraid that, I wouldn't like it as much as the other stuff, and it would tarnish my image of AJ up on that pedestal that I've conjured up in my mind. So, in any event, I did smoke a Last Call Pequenas. It's the Corona size this week. It's actually kind of like a small Robusto, and other than the fact that the band looks a little less ornate than most of the other AJ creations, there was nothing about the appearance that suggested it was a bargain basement cigar. It had an uncut foot, which was kind of interesting.
I like the shaky foot.
It's a Nicaraguan Puro, which uses an Ecuadorian Habano Rosado wrapper, but that was grown in Nicaragua. So the primary note on the pre-light sniff and the cold draw was nuttiness, and it was pretty pronounced, which surprised me a little bit. Usually you get more like earth and maybe barnyard on the pre-light, but I clipped it with my cigar scissors and I lit the Last Call up, and I got a sort of a milder version of the Nicaraguan Pepper Blast. It was there, but it wasn't as big as what you'd get on like the New World or the Encore. The Last Call settled down from its mini NPB and zeroed right in on a toasted nut flavor as its sort of dominant note. Hint of paprika, a little bit of black pepper, left a nice tang on the tongue. I got the impression that the tobaccos used in the blend might be a little young, but if that's the case, AJ has blended the Last Call in such a way as to actually make that work. It's just like the beautiful thing. The way a high school dance may not be a performance of Swan Lake, but it's still a quintessential part of the coming of age experience.
Almost like he's a genius.
You would think so. Obi-Wan, help me, Obi-Wan. I need a good smoke. Bottom line, it was really good. The nuttiness continued into the second, third.
By smoking me, you make me more powerful than you can imagine.
I find your lack of cigars disturbing. Anyway, the nuttiness continued into the second, third, and really all the way to the end of cigars. And oakiness started to come out on about the midway point, got stronger as I smoked. The final third was nice and peppery with oak and toasted nuts. The cigar was, as I expected, medium to full-bodied, and construction-wise, it smoked like a dream. Nice solid ash, no burn or draw issues of any kind. I wish I'd tried these a long time ago. I don't know why I was being hesitant. I'll be adding a box to my humidor sometime soon. It's a small cigar, but at $5 to $6 a stick, it is so worth it, and a little bit more. Thumbs up, recommended, and price to quality, I'll give it a 5.5. So batting just a little bit above its weight class, and that's at a fairly low price. Oh, and AJ, about getting to tour your facility, if you're listening, we totally get how busy you are. I'm sure it just slipped your mind. We'll keep waiting. We're pretty much good anytime this summer. So just call me. Yeah. So there you go. That was my experience. Well, there's it's okay to be a fan of something, right? It really is.
That guy's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and he really is. And Ian, you and I met him. We met him at Stogies here in Houston. But he doesn't speak English very well, so we had actually an interpreter with him. And I remember I was like, tell him we really like his cigars. I was like such a fanboy, such a total geek. But
you totally geeked out.
Yeah, it was fun. So I'm also a bit of a geek when it comes to Maker's Mark because, as I mentioned earlier, I got to take a couple of the remnants of the special bottles home from the whiskey sniff, and boy, those were really, really good. So we have special bottles here today, and we have Rachel Bloom here to talk to us about them. So let's start with one, which is always a good place to start. What's the first one that you poured us, and did they come out as a series all at one time, or did they kind of trickle out one by one?
They did come out all at one time. We released these in honor of the Houston Rodeo, and these are our first Ode to Texas series.
And I just want to mention, by the way, for anyone that is not from Houston, we have listeners all over the place, the Houston Rodeo is a BFD. It is a really, really big deal.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
It's probably the biggest sort of social event in this city. People go who have absolutely zero interest in rodeo stuff. There's major artists that come and play every night, but more than that, it's just something that everybody goes to.
The concerts, the carnival, the
right,
the fair, like all the booths with all the crafts and handmade stuff.
And by the way, the greatest corn on the cob you've ever had in the the festival area out there. I don't know what they do before they roast that stuff, but it's fantastic.
Largest barbecue cook-off in the world.
Yeah, it's just
The
absolutely
side
huge.
events that are out there performing.
So,
Oh, yeah.
So it totally makes sense to do releases themed around that, especially if you're in Texas, because it is. I believe it's the biggest actual rodeo in the world.
It is.
Yeah. So, so these came out for rodeo this year. Is that right?
Yes, we released them around the same time as the rodeo. They are still available throughout Texas at Specs stores, which again is a Texas liquor store.
And you can visit. It's worth a trip down to get some of the cool special stuff they have. if
Yeah,
you're
Specs
from
always has
elsewhere.
great bottle picks.
I'm getting major cinnamon on the nose for this.
big time and caramel.
Yeah, and caramel. And so this is already shaping up to be the kind of whiskey that I really, really like, because that's where I like to go from a
Oh,
flavor
you should
standpoint.
taste it.
So very
I intend to.
appropriately, this one that I've started us with is called "This Ain't My First Rodeo."
Oh, very cool. And so each of these have a specific name like that, right?
They do. This 5-part series has 5 different names and 5 different wood stave recipes as well. So, and that's where their uniqueness comes from, is the individual wood stave recipes that go into the finishing process.
This has got a little bit of a kick to it too. What are we talking about here? Is this?
Yeah, you said they're all a little overproof, right? Where's this one coming?
They are all cask strength.
Okay, there
all
you
of
go.
our cask strength products will come out anywhere between 108 and 114 proof. These are all going to be right around 109. What we're tasting right now is 109.5.
It is beautiful. You know, it's funny because the heat that you get from this, like you know you're drinking a whiskey right up front, but not in an obtrusive way, and then the whiskey hug that comes in afterwards and just
Right.
kind of envelops you.
Well, and it's got so much flavor, like up front on the tongue, and then you're right, the whiskey hug that comes back in on the backside, just kind of like. Yeah.
This is like the sweet notes and the cinnamon in there, but the wood, the charred wood that comes through, and
Yeah.
this is massive.
Didn't surprise me that you talked about the wood staves, because this has definitely got some wood aging to it. Alan, you're a whiskey guy. What do you think?
It's all right. So it's really sweet up front to me. But that little, sometimes a sweeter, especially if it's like a pure corn whiskey, that too sweet can be a little off-putting sometimes. This isn't overly sweet, but it's got that great burn from being cast strength that just melds with it perfectly.
This is serious.
This is really good.
Yeah,
There's
it's serious.
There's a slight astringency too on the aftertaste that it has to be from that oak staves that just so good and just kind of finishes everything up really nice.
Yeah, I get quite a bit of brown sugar flavor out of this
Yes,
one,
for sure.
for sure. But I think also the finish, there's a very nutty, toasted oak kind of creamy quality to the finish that prevents it from being overly sweet, through the full taste.
Just out of curiosity, how different should we expect each of these expressions to be based on what you know of them?
Quite different.
That's so interesting, because this
Love it.
still has that kind of classic Maker's Mark taste to it, but there's definitely more. There's more going on. It's definitely got a bigger profile, a lot bigger kick. And you said what 109.5?
109.5,
yeah.
That's one of the frequencies where you can hear the show now.
Yeah.
109.5.
Today's hits and yesterday's favorites.
That's right.
And smoking and toast.
With less talk and more soft rock.
That is something that we're able to achieve with wood stave finishing, is that super dynamic difference throughout our private select.
When you use wood staves, do they also go in a barrel and then you add the staves, or do you put them in something else and the staves are where you get the wood from?
That's a great question. So what we do for wood stave finishing is we are going into a fully aged and fully matured barrel of Maker's Mark, still at cask strength.
Okay.
It's ready to go. So it will no longer be aging or maturing at that point.
Okay.
It will go into our limestone cellar, which is naturally around 50 degrees year-round in temperature, and we'll insert those 10 wood staves right into that fully aged barrel, and then put that in that cool atmosphere
Right.
for it only takes 9 weeks actually also
Really?
for that
For the finishing.
for
'Cause
all
that's
that.
It's got quite a bit of that wood stave oaky kind of vibe to it.
So this,
Oh, yeah.
the stave profile on the front is interesting. So you give the amount of different staves that you have: 3 baked American pure, 4 Maker's Mark 46, 1 roasted French Mendiant.
Mendiant, yes.
Mendiant, okay. And two toasted French spice. So it's interesting that the recipe, so to speak, is on there.
Yes.
When you guys do these together with Specs, or you might do them with other places from time to time, is it the type of thing where you do these things and then they come taste them and you sort of together pick which ones are going to be from the release? Is that the way that it works?
So, first of all, because I know that you have worldwide listenership, you can find these all over the country.
Okay, just these special type of releases, right?
These Maker's Mark Private Select. You can find cool, unique, individual Private Select expressions that are made by the people that you like to buy whiskey from,
Right.
whether it be bars and restaurants or spirit retailers.
So I'm interested in the process, though. When you
Yes.
guys get together and choose, you sample the barrels and choose. Okay, this is going to be one of our special releases. A, how often does that happen? And B, how do I get a job like that?
Yeah, when do we get the call?
So it's that is something we can certainly talk about pretty
Okay.
soon.
All right.
We have it's something important that you mentioned is selecting the barrel. While that is how it works with most distilleries, because at Maker's Mark, our hallmark is consistency.
Right.
We're rotating our barrels. We're
Sure.
aging to taste, not time. That gives us barrels that all come out tasting exactly the same as one another, and that's the goal. And so what we're doing is, instead of tasting barrel samples, we are literally creating the recipe by tasting these individual
So it's
wood
like, here's
stave
what
profiles.
we're going for, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then when I host one of these, I myself like to contribute very little of my own opinion, because it really is a reflection of you, the creator, and what it is that you seek to create. You mix and match the different wood stave profiles for a total of 10 staves to create something that's all you, completely unique, all your own.
I mean, that's a lot of variations you can make.
Yeah, very, very cool. And we got a couple of minutes left in this segment. Let's do a little beer tasting here. This is the beer that I mentioned earlier from Ingenious, and these guys really are kind of geniuses.
So,
but this is their Join the Tart
Join
side.
the Tart side, Berliner Weiss style ale with blood orange, black cherry, pomegranate, lime, blackberry, and boysenberry. And you would not even expect this, but goes well with this whiskey.
It kind of does.
It
I was
really does.
actually a little worried about that, to be honest, because sometimes when you get in these tart things,
Yeah.
it kind of messes
So
with
this is
that.
coming in at 6.8%. It says, "Aren't you a little short for a Stormtrooper? Join the Tart side is an intergalactic fruit basket that's sure to hit the mark, unlike those wily troopers."
This is really good. Like, this is it brings me back to when I first discovered the first Berliner Weiss that I ever got like really, really interested in was the Boiler Room.
Boiler Room
St.
from
Arnold.
St. Arnold's is fantastic.
And it was just so good. It came in those big, bomber bottles, and it was only like $5 or $6.
Yeah, $5.
And it was so good. And then they
like $4.98 to be exact.
they eventually discontinued it, but they took the same Berliner Weiss and added raspberry, and it became their Raspberry AF, which is also very good. But I don't think that's still out, is it?
I haven't seen it in a long time.
No. But the aftertaste on
this
this,
one
that
is
like
available.
blackberry and
Yeah.
boysenberry
Oh, yeah.
aftertaste on this is fantastic.
Now, I like that they weren't afraid to let it be nice and tart also.
Yes. I personally enjoy the tart beers more than I enjoy the sours. I mean, I like a good sour from time to time, but this is my favorite way to do a little bit
Go
of
back to your whiskey.
tart and sour. Oh, after this?
Yeah.
I'm almost afraid to, but
And just think gingerbread man.
yeah.
oh, dude. Dude, that's good. That makes me think of Nicolas Cage movies. That's really good. All right, we have to take a break, but we got more tasting to do, more Maker's Mark, and we'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Nice to have you guys on with us for show number, what is this, 327. When we get to 333, that's going to be our anniversary show. We'll be inviting back, you're invited, even you are invited, Alan, which is
I've
amazing.
already RSVP'd to Mary.
Okay, all right, so you're good to go. The anniversary show, we will invite back every single person who's ever been a guest on the show.
Even Alan?
Even Alan, yeah. And a lot of them won't be able to make it, of course. Not everybody can. But we'll have quite a group there. And you will see me struggle to hit any of the time cues for syndication for 2 hours. And then we'll just keep going. When we did the 100th show, that was the first anniversary show that we did.
4.5 hours?
4.5 hours long. So
I was asking Ian earlier when we were smoking, I said, hey, now that y'all are syndicated and you have your time blocks that you have to, how are you going to do this show? And he's like, oh, no, the rest of it after the time blocks.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Exactly. And that's the thing. Everybody will just have to put up with me, throwing to the brakes. But then once those first 2 hours are done, I'm just going to sit back and drink and smoke cigars, and you guys can do all the talking. That's fine with me. I'm just looking forward to it. Speaking of cigars, seeing how there's no shortage of expensive cigars these days from Cuba or Nicaragua or the Dominican Republic, CLE Cigar Company has decided to tap into that spendy market. They're releasing a pair of high-priced Hondurans. The new Asylum Sensorium will be shipping to retailers next week, coming in 2 sizes, one retailing for $50 each.
Okay.
The other retailing for $60 each. Both of these are made in Honduras by Christian Arroyo, and they are composed entirely of Honduran tobacco. Now, when we visited the Arroyo family, Christian wasn't there, but we visited Julio and Justo and got to take in some of their farm and factory and stuff. If you're listening, AJ, we do get invited to do that sometimes. But one of the things that was so interesting to me was how reasonably priced their whole line was.
Yeah.
So this is the brother Christian, the guy that started Camacho, and then eventually sold it. But he's going to jump into this super premium, and I just don't know how I feel about this. I mean, how good does the cigar have to be to drop $50 on it?
So I will never know unless someone gives me one.
Right.
Like I will tell you. So the most expensive cigar I've ever bought with my own money is the 45th anniversary Padron.
And that took what, $40?
35-ish.
35-ish.
Yeah, 35. And I will tell you, that's a $35 cigar, and it's worth every penny of that 30. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. It's fantastic.
Well, I suppose
don't
they
know.
don't have to sell a whole lot of the $50 or $60 cigars to make some money, because I can't imagine there's not an incredible markup on that. I'm sure it's great quality tobacco, but did it really cost them, I don't know what, $40 to build the cigar, and they're charging $60?
It's rolled on the thighs of virgins.
Well,
and
I've heard that
95-year-old tobacco.
I've heard that. But it's like that with the Cubans that they've talked about.
So if there's any Smoking and Toast and super fans out there, and you want us to review these cigars,
yes,
you can send them to us.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Just email us. It's st@rfcmedia.com. We'll send you the address.
st@rfcmedia.com.
And we'll be happy to cover your postage.
So
We'll
I
do
want to know what the price to quality index on that cigar is.
Yeah.
So do I. I'm a little curious.
And you'll find out if someone buys us one and says
It's almost tempting to buy y'all one just to see y'all smoke it, just so I can hear it too.
We're trying. We've only got a couple minutes left in this segment, but this is going to be impossible, by the way, at the anniversary show. But I do want to talk about this next expression of Maker's Mark. So tell us about this particular one.
All right, so this one's called Texas Two-Step, keeping with our Texas theme. We've got 1 of our Baked American Pure Stave, 2 of our Seared French Cuvée Stave, and 7 of our Maker's Mark 46 Stave.
So
This is wonderful.
I want to say
this is so good.
I want to say vanilla and dark cherry.
That's why I'm loving it. I love that vanilla. Love that vanilla.
I myself also get quite a lot of red fruit out of it. For me, it was red apple, but that, dark cherry, I 100%.
This is just outlandish.
Wow. So I want to talk more about this in the next segment before we get to the next whiskey, because this one is deserving of us taking some time and really discussing what's happening here. It doesn't feel as highly proofed as the previous one. I'm not saying it's not, but how does it compare?
It is 109.6. So
It is
0.1 higher.
0.1 more.
Yeah.
109.6.
This one goes to 11.
Wow, that is. It's gentler somehow on the palate, I think, than the first one was, but it's just so delicious.
It's fantastic.
Oh my goodness.
The burn subsides
Right.
really quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Where the first one, it lingered a little bit, not off-putting, but this one, the burn
100%.
just goes away.
This one leaves a little
100%.
spice linger on the center of the tongue too. It's really, really nice.
And it's just, I don't know, just very pleasant. It's for something that is that highly proofed, it is fairly gentle in terms of the way it comes at your palate. So great stuff. We'll talk about this more and try the next one when we come back. Plus, we're creeping ever closer to time for drinking news. We'll be getting to that in the next segment or two. It's Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for joining us. More Maker's Mark to come. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. My name is Cruz. My partner in crime here is Ian Barry, and we have double guest lineup today. We have, of course, from Maker's Mark and from Beam Suntory, Rachel Bloom is with us, and then our good friend Alan Denny joins us as well because he heard we were going to have really good whiskey on today's show.
That's
every show.
And otherwise, it's like he said during the break, "Hey, I have to podcast again. When's she going to be on next time?" So,
I'll be back.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to know. The whiskey market, by the way, is exploding worldwide. It's becoming one of the biggest things. It was estimated at $59.63 billion in 2019, and it is expected to hit $86.38 billion by 2027. That's like an increase of 4.9% from 2020 to 2027. We knew the whiskey market was expanding and growing.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is it's not just growing with more whiskey, it's growing with more people buying and drinking whiskey. And it's just, I just find it really, really interesting that whiskey has become so, because it's not like it's a new, upstart thing. Whiskey. How old is Maker's Mark as a company?
Maker's Mark has been around since 1954.
Right.
We've been making the same thing in this one place, this one way since 1954. I think something that's changed, a couple things have changed actually. I think we as a society feel comfortable to enjoy the whiskeys that we want to, the way that we want to now.
Right,
and there's
right.
less kind of prescriptiveness around how to drink whiskey, right? Additionally, young women are drinking whiskey now. People,
Which it was always kind of a guy thing back in the day, right?
Yes.
yeah,
Perceived, yeah.
Right, perceived, kind of again prescribed
perceived to
that
be.
way.
Right,
You
right.
know,
Sure.
that's how it was marketed, and
I remember a buddy of mine used to always say, "Real men drink brown drinks." That was
Right.
like his sort of thing. Right? It was just perceived as a more masculine thing. But you're right. There's plenty of female fans of whiskey these days. And
I think we're finding people of all ages, all demographics, all backgrounds coming together to enjoy what they want to enjoy these days, and it's kind of less.
and why is it? Maybe I'm gonna. This is totally off the subject, but why is it that so many women who drink spirits seem to be able to drink the guys under the table so consistently? I'm not saying every situation. But why is that? Usually women are smaller. You would expect them to have less ability to process all of that. But for some reason, I know so many women who are spirits lovers who can drink their guy under the table anytime.
Challenge accepted.
Okay, fair enough.
Careful.
Do you have a theory?
I do. I think that for a really long time, women were expected to kind of portray ourselves as very demure. And so that wouldn't have been an attractive thing for us to be able to do. And it is probably something we've always been able to do all along.
By the way, I think it's very attractive, just so you know. I think it's awesome. Okay, so
Here's a
Ian,
question.
Yes.
Grapefruit much?
So you have poured us this beer, and this is, and we'll just go right out and say it. Dogfish Head is one of our favorite breweries. We love
You
these
can't even
guys.
get your nose close to this without getting the
Woo,
grapefruit
yeah,
right
baby,
off
that
the
is-
bat.
Smells amazing.
And it also almost smells like the grapefruit peel, like the
The zest, if
the
you will.
zest of the grapefruit, yeah, as opposed to being that more
Or that pulpy
juicy,
inner lining
right.
almost.
Yes, absolutely. But that's on the nose. What do you get on the tongue?
So it's interesting because it says ale with grapefruit juice and blue agave nectar.
Oh.
And I guess the agave nectar is giving you that kind of sweet and slight bitter on the back.
Kind of offsetting the grapefruit.
It's an interesting thing because you'd think with as big as this is that it would finish bitter, but it doesn't really. It finishes crisp,
Yes.
but not bitter. And also, this is 8%.
Oh, yeah.
There's that double. That's that word,
Yeah, this is
double.
double golden ale. It's at
Yeah.
8%. It says our perfect storm infusing double golden ale with grapefruit juice, lime peel, and blue agave nectar.
I can actually taste the blue agave nectar. Yeah, I can. It's This is quite good. I love, Dogfish Head isn't quite as far out on the like crazy experimental spectrum as like an Ingenious, for example, or some of the other. But these guys really do some very interesting and kind of off the beaten path type of beers.
I love their experimental nature. It's funny because I get the lime peel on the nose, especially when you're looking for it. You can kind of smell it through the grapefruit. I don't get a lot on the flavor on the initial taste at all.
No, I agree. But it's definitely on the
But
nose.
this is
it's definitely
oddly
in the
good.
finish.
This
Yeah,
is
that's a great way to say it because it's not a typical sort of beer. It doesn't taste like an IPA or a lager or anything that you would compare it to, but it's definitely
also as big as it sounds. It's not like it's hard to drink either. It actually
Right.
goes down like real easy, like a nice fresh, like almost like a cocktail does.
Yeah, I think I would have guessed that this was maybe 5.5% ABV if you had asked me to guess.
Yeah, there's no booziness to it whatsoever.
What is I always forget the name of it, but the beer that Dogfish Head did with the flaming lips, it's like moon pools and caterpillars.
It
or
was,
something. That's not right, but it's something like that beer is so good.
I'm blanking on it right now, but
I had it one day at Flying Saucers,
Yeah.
which is a place where you can get like a flight, and they have them in downtown Houston. You can kind of pick your flight, and I decided to try that, and it was so good that I immediately went out and bought some. Which is
we had it on the
we had
show and
yes.
talked about it.
It's not moon pools and caterpillars.
There's
What is it
something
called?
yum yum.
Oh yes, something and yum yums.
Something berry,
rainbows and yum yums, or something like
berry
that.
yum yum.
It is really,
Dragons.
Dragonberries. And
Yeah,
yum yum.
yeah,
Dragon-
that is so good. And this reminds me of it a little bit. It doesn't taste the same, but it brings that back to my mind.
I went back and listened to the Yoshimi album.
Dude, that's genius.
So good.
That is a
It is
wonderful
so
record.
good.
It's probably their best record in my opinion. Although I know hardcore fans of the band would probably pick another one, but
I don't
that's
know,
the one
man.
that does
It's
it for
so
me.
good.
Yeah, that's the one that does it.
That
for me.
weird synth with the acoustic guitar.
Oh, yeah.
It's
And
just so bizarrely
the
cool
whole
together.
concept of the lyrics of Yoshimi versus the Pink Robots.
The
that's
story behind it is
great.
unbelievably good.
Yeah, it's really good. So every now and then we do offer music suggestions here on the program. That would be one of them. So, and by the way, the new Ed Sheeran record's really good too.
I haven't
It's
listened to that yet.
Totally different, but really, really good. I recommend it highly. You know what else I recommend? Maker's Mark special releases. I think we should try another one, don't you?
If we're ready to try another one,
Not gonna turn that down.
Well, do we need to talk any more about that second one? Because that was sublime.
It was genius.
It was just
well,
absolutely
that second one.
sublime.
So, what if you want? That was
yeah, I'd love to hear what kind of flavor notes you pulled from it.
Well,
one
vanilla was the big
baked
one.
American pure cask, 2 seared French cuvee casks, and 7 Maker's Mark 46 casks. That was it. So I got off of that last one. I got a lot of vanilla and that dark cherry, and that was the big things. And then you mentioned apple, so I was getting that on the aftertaste and a little bit on the retrohale even.
I will just mention too that the way that one just kind of danced on the palate. It was more delicate than the first one. The first one came up and said, "Hi, I'm a whiskey. Boom! I'm gonna rock your world here." This one was so much more subtle. It was more delicate. It just kind of danced on the palate for a minute, and I think you said the heat went away almost immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big dry punch and then a nice soft kind of gentle finish. I get a little bit of kind of marshmallow, almond blossom, orange
Right,
blossom,
right.
golden honey.
Oh
what-
yeah, that's after tasting it a little bit too. I said there was a floral thing, and you were like, I was just writing down orange blossom at the same
What
time.
you guys may not know, though, is that during the break, Rachel said, I said, that's really amazing. And she let us know that it is so good, but it was not actually her favorite of the 5. So
So it'll be
I'm
interesting to
curious
see
to
at the end
see
which
where
one's
we go
the favorite.
from there. So this is the third one we've tried. Tell us the name of this one.
This one is called Giddy Up.
Okay, so
Giddy on up.
the first one was Not My First Rodeo.
Yes.
The second one was
Texas Two-Step.
Texas Two-Step, and this one is Giddy Up.
Giddy Up. So something that I really love about this series is that I'm seeing some number zeros on this bottle. I'm seeing some really high numbers on this bottle.
Yeah.
That means that Specs, when they designed into these recipes took
Right.
big swings.
Oh,
You know,
cool.
big, bold choices instead of just, because you also can make a recipe that's 2-2-2-2-2, balanced, very reliably balanced, right? That's,
right.
you know.
But here they got a little more adventurous, is what
They
you're saying.
did. Yep.
I
They
love that.
made some. They swung for the fences on these. So giddy up. We've got 3 of our baked American pure stave, 1 of our seared French cuvee stave, 0 of the 46 or the roasted French Mendiant, and 6 of our toasted French spice stave.
So I just want to say something.
You've sipped already?
Yes.
Has everybody sipped?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead. I got
I just want to say, if you've ever been, at a party and let's say there's not a huge selection of spirits, right? You always know you can go for the basic Maker's Mark. Like it's always
it's always good.
It's always consistently good,
And the
right?
46 is
And the 46
even more
is
gooder.
even better. But that said, these are a really quantum leap, I think, from even the regular Maker's Mark. Same kind of consistency to them, but they take it just to places from a flavor standpoint that that you would not necessarily be expecting. And the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people who like very boutique whiskeys, let's say, might think, oh, yeah, but it's Maker's Mark. Like, it's not going to be as experimental, as interesting. And you'd be wrong.
This is very far out compared to
very, yeah.
either of
And
those
again, that's not a
expressions.
knock on regular old Maker's Mark because it's quite good. But this is very interesting, very compelling. What are you getting flavor-wise?
Can I go ahead and tell you now that you've all taken a sip and you're just enjoying the aftertaste? Can I say birthday cake?
Oh, that's very interesting.
Birthday
Very
cake.
interesting.
And maybe even a little cotton candy kind of thing. Right up front, it's spicy. It's it's got this spicy punch. It's not a cinnamon. It's
Clove.
it's more like a
Allspice.
that kind of thing right up front. And then when you take the swallow, and it just finishes with birthday cake and sweetness. It's freaking delicious.
What do you think?
Caramel.
Yes, there
Just
is
straight.
Mm-hmm.
And not the off-putting caramel that you get with some whiskeys that it's almost artificial.
Right.
This
I know
is
what you mean.
that they just made it in a pan caramel, and you're just waiting for it to cool. And as soon as it does, you pop some in your mouth. That's this type of caramel.
It's really
And
spectacular.
then you drizzle it over a birthday cake.
Yeah.
Dude,
Hey.
drizzle.
I
love
myself get a
drizzling
bit of
caramel.
a chocolate raspberry.
Yes, I totally get that.
I wouldn't have personally said birthday cake until you said it, and now I'm like, oh yeah, icing.
The finish,
Icing.
the finish on that is like so.
Raspberry and chocolate are two. That's one of the greatest combinations ever
It's
in
pretty
the dessert
amazing,
world.
yeah.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Because if you ever had like just a really great chocolate cake with like oh my god, it's so good.
It's
there's
red-
an element of that here.
Red velvet cake with a raspberry ganache with
that's
buttercream icing over the top.
I'm gonna point something out though. For my birthday this last week, my mom made me a birthday cake. It was chocolate with chocolate icing, but in between the two layers of cake, she put rhubarb.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy,
yeah.
was it good!
Now, see, I'm a little weird about rhubarb.
Oh, man,
I
it
don't,
was-
I don't know if I buy into
It was
that.
about 9 kinds of fantastic.
Please tell your mom that my birthday is in November.
It was good.
I need that, please.
And it's like that old song from the '80s, "Never Touch Another Man's Rhubarb." You remember that song?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh no.
That was I don't remember the name of the band now. It was back in the weird '80s times, when there were all these like weird '80s one-hit wonder bands.
Back before they invented things like PC and safety.
Right.
Yeah, I got you.
Jack
Exactly.
That's
Nicholson
when I grew
said
up.
that in the original Batman movie.
So
with Michael Keaton.
is that where that came from?
Never
maybe?
touch another man's rhubarb.
Oh,
Yeah, I
see,
remember
okay,
him
so
saying
thank
that
you.
in the.
Thank you. By the way, let's just establish this right now, and I'm just going to say this, and you can hate me if you want. Michael Keaton is
Batman.
Batman. There is no one close. We got to take a break while people hate on me for that. And we'll be right back because we have more Maker's Mark and we have drinking news and we have some very interesting 512 pecan border to try as well. We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. I mentioned, because this is a short segment, we're going to go straight to the whiskey, but I do want you to mention again, Alan, something you were saying during the break, which is that our favorite whiskey event ever the Houston Whiskey Social is changing your date a little bit this year. Is that right?
So the last couple of years on social media and direct text to Chris Hart.
I haven't seen him in forever. Like it's actually been long enough that I miss him.
So
He sent a miss you guys on our Facebook.
So
weeks ago.
his new job is he's a business consultant, and he's doing a ton of traveling. I mean, he's North Carolina. He was in Wisconsin for a while. I can't remember where he's at right now. But Chris got a lot of pushback for having the social.
For what the date was.
Yeah, for the first weekend in November. Two big important things on that day. One is Biker Rally down in Galveston, which a lot of whiskey drinkers are bikers as well.
Sure.
And then the other is opening weekend for deer season.
So a lot of people are getting out there for the first time.
Yeah. So Chris looked at it and said, "Hey, I want to accommodate you." Now I don't know if this is actually true, or Chris just got a better rate for the later date.
Could totally be.
But we did push the social back this year, and it is November 18th.
And Ian and I have said this from the very first time that we went to the Houston Whiskey Social. But as far as we are concerned, you'll back me up on this. This is the best spirits event we've ever been to. And we've been to them in multiple states, across multiple cities.
Hands down.
This is the good one. It is really so much so that I invite you guys who don't live in Texas to visit Houston and go to this.
Every
It's
year
worth
that you
it.
guys do this, you guys improve it, and it gets better.
Yeah,
like the first
100%.
year, there was lines for the bathroom. You solve it.
Got rid of
there
it.
was not enough food. You solve it. Every year there's some little thing, and you just keep getting better and better. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I just want to mention while we were talking about the Whiskey Social, I just kind of absent-mindedly took a sip of this, not even really thinking about it. And wow.
This is brown sugar and spice and everything nice.
Yes. Tell us
Oh my
about
gosh.
what's the name of this one, Rachel?
This one is called The Stars at Night. And
Our
I
big
think,
and bright. Clap, 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 clap.
You know, it's funny you say that because the final one, Ian, can you read what that label says? The final one is called?
Big and bright.
Yeah, so
bright,
this one is The Stars at Night. I think that of all of them, we have a couple that are going to be really our big aroma expressions, and this is certainly one of those.
I will just mention, by the way, as songs go, you know, we have Deep in the Heart of Texas, which is a very Texas-y song, and I always assumed that every state had, you know, something similar. When I moved to Boston, which I loved living in Boston, but they don't have like a song like Deep in the Heart of Boston. They have some horrible song about the muddy St. Charles River. It's like it's lame in comparison to Texas. So just wanted to put that out.
This is great.
Silky.
This has a silky kind of
Silky is a
chocolatiness
perfect
to it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost. You know what it reminds me of? My mom makes the best fudge I've ever had because it's very gritty. And like when I go buy fudge like from a fudge shop and it's real creamy, I don't like it as much.
Gritty fudge is
This
the best.
almost has a little bit of that sort of same quality as a good gritty fudge. and I love it.
Crystalline texture on that. Yeah, this one, let's quickly talk through some flavor notes on this one.
Okay.
I myself get a lot of kind of nutmeggy chocolatey, which I think is...
I can go with that.
I think that finish is silky light.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, I get so much berry, vanilla, angel food cake, whipped cream, white pepper, cream cheese frosting.
Can get all of that.
White
Yeah.
pepper, never would have thought of it, but I'll raise you up one too. There's on the very finish of this, there's almost a buttery note to it that's that kind of lingers.
So for me, that's been Maker's Mark as a whole.
Yeah.
Is a
sort of a
buttery kind
butteriness?
of
Yeah,
finish
totally,
to it.
yeah.
We were talking earlier about how Maker's Mark is, you can always be your go-to, and that's the nice thing about if you get draped into going to an Applebee's or an Olive Garden. There's always a Maker's Mark there that you can always go back to.
You don't have to go Jack Daniels. You know,
Yeah.
you can. And Jack Daniels, they make some wonderful whiskeys,
But it's not
just
old
not
number
the old
seven.
number 7.
Like,
Exactly.
What did they? Why is that so popular? I mean, the branding's awesome, but
the
like,
branding is
everything
great.
else
It's
they
bourbon.
make is amazing.
'Cause it's
What is
bourbon.
going on?
Because it's bourbon, and we'll be back with more coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting. Drinking News is next.
I feel like you might be biased.
Oh, well. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And in today's case, great whiskey. I'm still enjoying this last expression. The Stars at Night. Was that what that one's called?
That one, yes, was
Yeah,
the Stars at Night.
All right. So if you are in Texas and you're at a spec store, you can look for these. But you were saying, though, if you're living elsewhere, that you've done these kinds of things with different spirit retailers all over the country. Is that right?
Yes. So it's a very special thing where we partner with some of our favorite Maker's Mark supporters. Yeah, it's a rare privilege to get to take part in this program. But in all 50 states, you should be able to find some of these. Yep.
Absolutely.
Made by your favorite people.
Absolutely love it. Well, I'm so glad you're here. This will be your first time to experience it live, at least, because over the years that we've been doing the show, this has in fact become the most popular segment on Smokin' and Toastin'. It's a little something we like to call Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. So, Drinking News is our segment on the program where we bring you a news story from some, at least quasi-reputable news stores. You know, as great as The Onion is, we stay away from the parody sites. These are actual news stories that have appeared somewhere in actual news, and we report them to you. Now, they are often about drinking.
Yes.
Not always, but often. But they are always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And we're into 4 now of the 5 samples of Maker's Mark, so we've definitely been drinking. It's no secret to those of us here at Smokin' and Toastin' that we enjoy having ourselves a drink every once in a while. For some of us, more than once in a while. Is dozens in a while a thing? Is that a thing?
Dozens in a while?
Yeah. But even with that said, there are certain things in life that are not recommended for you to do while you're drinking. We've all seen the warnings about operating heavy machinery, right? Although I always wonder just how heavy a machine has to be in order to fall into that category, right? There's these electric scooters that I see swarms of kids riding around on downtown. They aren't all that heavy, but I'd still recommend thinking twice if you're 5 or 6 margaritas in. I'd add to the heavy machinery warning a few of our own. When you're drinking is definitely not a good time to consider getting married, especially if you're in Las Vegas, and especially if you've only known your potential spouse since the two of you went on a run at the craps table about an hour ago. I'd also argue that public speaking, even if it's just at a PTA meeting, is probably not a good idea. Going to the meetings to watch some drunk idiot go on and on about education and how we should ban 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. And that can be entertaining.
That's subversive.
But you don't want that drunk idiot to be you. That's all I'm saying, right? And in most cases, you probably should avoid drinking at your job. Now, it's true, we do drink on the job here at Smokin' and Toastin', but in fairness, our job is drinking, so don't hate the players, hate the game. But if your job requires you to have your crap together, because your profession involves, doing something with a certain degree of precision.
Does that mean our job is to have our crap not together?
It doesn't enter into the job description, my friend.
Noted.
Okay. But if your profession involves doing something with a certain degree of precision, maybe wait until you're off work and at happy hour with your buddies to imbibe. That is why we were very surprised to learn of something called Bubbles and Botox.
Oh.
It is apparently
bubbles and Botox. Now I've heard of like beer and yoga.
Yeah.
But bubbles and Botox. That's interesting.
It's apparently the brainchild of who else? A Florida man.
A Florida man.
Named Nelson Turin, who was throwing these procedure parties where you could enjoy champagne.
The alliteration is strong with this one.
Yes. You could enjoy champagne while you were getting your lips puffed up or whatever. The problem is, Turin was not only providing the bubbles, but he was actively drinking them while he worked, along with something I've never tasted and don't really want to, called Four Loko. FOURLOKO.
You're missing
Are you
out.
guys familiar with Four Loko?
Oh, yeah, you're
Yeah,
missing out.
Unfortunately.
In addition to performing the Botox treatments while under the influence, Turin was charged with injecting unknown substances into patients' faces while impaired and without a medical license or any of the appropriate state certifications.
Florida man.
Because Florida. According to Wikipedia, which we all know, of course, is always true, Four Loko branded products have been the object of legal, ethical, and health concerns related to the company allegedly marketing them to underage drinkers and the danger of combining alcohol and caffeine. After the beverage was banned in several states, they did a product reintroduction in December of 2010, removed the caffeine, the taurine, and the guarana as ingredients, and the malt beverage is no longer marketed as an energy
Now
drink.
it's just 3 Loko.
Yeah, right. One has to wonder how widespread this Botox and bubbles idea actually is.
Botox.
Yeah. There's a lady in my building that I wind up on the elevator with every now and then who's clearly had some horrific face work done, and I have to wonder if Four Loko may have been involved in some way.
Man, have you seen George Benson recently?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Killer guitar player.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Damn, dude.
Well, this woman looks a little bit like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. So, and I run into her on the elevator, and I'm just waiting for her to say, "My precious." So anyway, we all saw, by the way, what Michael Jackson wound up looking like after having, too much Botox or facial surgery or whatever. And hey, Mickey Rourke, anyone? I mean, there's something definitely loco going on there.
Something happened to him, right?
His boxing days didn't do a lot for his
Yeah.
face, and
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
feel like he was trying to
Honestly,
get it back.
Yeah, it's not working.
I mean, the
It's
first
not working.
choice was, I'm a pretty guy, I'm going to box.
Oh, yeah. The dude was he was great looking. Like, I saw 5.5 weeks, right? You're
Right.
like, come on, he's with Kim Basinger. That's how good looking he was. She was like the hottest movie star at the
Right,
time.
right.
He does the sexy movie with her, right? Come on.
Joan
Anyway.
Rivers, the last 10 years of her life.
Exactly. So, listen, the next time you're going under the knife or the needle, as
Now,
it
see,
may
I
be.
wish I'd have learned that one because that's Under the Knife is a
Yeah.
Twisted Sister song.
Yeah, right. But the next time that's happening to you, I think that you're completely within your rights to demand that the doctor not only show you his license, but also complete some kind of field sobriety test. Let's see him walk a straight line or stand on one foot and touch his nose. Or
I mean, the
whatever it
real
is they make
question
you
is,
do
what
in
kind
those
of bubbly
things.
was he drinking? Was it like Veuve Clicquot? Was it real bubbly, or was it like California
I
bubbly?
don't know.
What's going on?
I'm guessing it's not Veuve Clicquot if he's chugging down Four Loko.
Four
on
Loko
the
is carbonated. So.
Oh, that's the bubbly. Sorry.
So here's the question. Was he still injecting the Botox, or was he putting the needle into the Four Lokos?
It might have worked better if he had. Anyway, check out your doctor before he gets busy with a needle or a scalpel. Because after all, you don't want to go in looking like Carrot Top and come out looking like Carrot Top. Actually, that's a bad example. You don't want to look like Carrot Top at all, whether it's the before or the after. But
Hey, but he got buff.
I think you get what I'm saying. So that is why I will pledge to you right now that while I have zero plans to stop drinking, I do solemnly swear that I will never drink and operate on any of you at the same time. You have my word.
Thank you so much.
It's a done
That's so
deal.
kind of you.
Thanks, man.
By the way, detectives staged an undercover operation to catch the Four Loko pretend doctor drinking and operating. And,
How do you get tipped off to
and
that?
they also-
Someone
Where
comes
did
up
he
with
get
a
the
fat lip.
Botox?
well, I have that here. They also found that what he was injecting into at least some of his patients was well past its expiration date.
Cool,
Wait.
cool,
Are you
cool.
saying when good Botox goes bad?
Yeah,
Like
that's
what?
right. I wouldn't even drink expired milk, and I certainly don't want to get injected with expired Botox.
What does that mean? It does. Like
Yeah,
I don't.
I look goofy enough as it is. I don't need the
Well,
expired
Botox is not good stuff for you, right?
Turin was charged with 3 counts of possession of legend drugs without a prescription with intent to sell and deliver, and leading the public to believe that he was actually a licensed medical doctor. Legend drugs, by the way, are drugs which are required by law to be dispensed to the public only on a prescription or by a licensed physician. So there you go. Reporting live from Florida, where this plastic surgeon is telling me he can make me look exactly like a celebrity. Unfortunately, that celebrity is Steve Buscemi. My name is Cruz.
just kinda weird looking,
and
you know?
that is your
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
And I was so
I love
looking
Steve Buscemi, by the way.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
I
It's
was
kind of weird
looking.
looking, you know.
I was looking forward to going to the RFC Media Botox Center when I left here. I guess that's closed
Yeah,
now.
is that, wait, then why am I here today? I thought that was part of this deal. Is that not?
We told you if you just bring enough good whiskey, we'll give you the
Everyone
Botox.
walks out of that room looking permanently surprised.
I gotta go, you guys. I thought.
Yeah. I just love it when they can't smile. Like, I can't smile because of the Botox.
It's
It's just
awkward.
when they just can't quite make the ugh. It's rough. But
I'm
people do
laughing
it.
on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the only way I can laugh. We got another whiskey in our hands here.
Yeah, what's up, guys? What do we think of the aroma on this one?
The aroma on this one smells like dessert.
It really does. It's got almost like a
Cognac smell to it.
Yes, absolutely.
What am I? There's something in there. It's like a dessert thing, and I'm not totally missing it.
So for me, it's I get some frosting on the nose, and then caramel corn is the big one for me when I taste it.
I was going to say creme brulee, like a little bit of that.
I was kind of on the
toastiness
creme brulee thing, like the burnt caramel kind of thing.
Yep. I myself also wrote caramelized sugar, burnt sugar, caramel crust.
Yeah, it smells so good. This one has a creaminess throughout the entire mouthfeel that's
It also
completely different from the other
It
ones.
also on the finish almost says whiskey more definitively than some of the others. You know what I mean? Not that that's not a bad thing, by the way. It's just it more announces itself as I am a whiskey.
Kettle corn.
This is really good. Kettle corn.
Kettle corn.
Kettle corn.
Very much so.
I love
And
me some kettle corn. In fact, I got to get some on the way home. That's good.
Our grain bill is quite high in corn. Even for a high corn whiskey, we are 70% corn, and so
your grain bill is high. My whiskey bill is high. So I'm feeling you.
Come on.
I'm feeling you.
Our alcohol bills
Yeah.
are high.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I go into specs and the credit card comes out and I think, seriously, I'm spending this much? Really? What is wrong with me? And what I really love, because I do buy things for us to sample on the show as well as stuff for my own personal consumption, right? So I'm always coming in the front door of my building and they're bringing me a cart to wheel it up to the elevator, right? And they're always looking at the box of the stuff that I bought, like, do we have a total alcoholic in our building here? So, yeah. This is really, really good. It feels more whiskey-like than the others. Would you agree with that?
you do get a bit of that kind of burn bite on the finish, that kind of esophageal burn that could be you know, there's no rye in our grain bill, but just speaking about whiskeys in general, that could be rye that gives you that. It could be cinnamony that gives you that. It could be proof that gives you that. This one's 109.7, and I think that we are getting some esophageal burn on this one that kind of, it's like you said, it's like whiskey.
Their third album was their best, Esophageal Burn.
Esophageal burn.
Yeah, that was some of the best, like, death
What's
metal
with all
stuff.
the big words?
Yeah. no, but this is really, really tasty. So what we're looking at here is 5 bottles that look almost exactly alike, and to be totally honest, are completely
Very different
different
from each other.
in
She
the
was
way
right.
that they approach the palate. You know.
And so that's something that we brought up earlier a little bit, is that Maker's Mark, tried and true. You're going to go to a bar you don't know, or a chain restaurant. You're going to go somewhere that maybe you don't go often. You see that red wax somewhere on the back bar.
Right. You know
you're going to get something
sure. You're
reliable.
fine, yeah.
But what we're able to do with our wood stave finishing, we're doing things that no one else is doing with wood stave finishing. We're really able to create just unbelievably unique, cool, crazy things.
I love this.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
I really do, and you're so right. Not only do you have a core product that is reliably always good, but you're really pushing the envelope with these things, and I think that is just absolutely wonderful. It really is. These are all terrific. I'm having a hard time even picking a favorite.
Oh,
'cause they're
favorites,
all
real
so good.
quick. Favorites.
I'm going to go with the second one. We'll do that in the final segment.
All right.
I'm going to go with the second one, I think. It's a tough call between 2 and 3 for me, but everything's good.
I'm going
What about
3.
you? 3.
2.
2. Oh, but they're all good. Like,
See, you guys are wrong. I mean,
You're always a little off the beaten path, even when we do
I
like
am.
a blind taste test or something like that.
I like also very bold flavors in general.
Yeah, you're a bold kind of guy. Come on, let's face it. By the way, I really like the Florida Man song. Thank you for that.
It's good.
All right, we are going to take a break, and we'll be right back. It is Smoking and Toasting. One more beer, by the way, from 512. We will taste this on our way out. It's Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for joining us for the show. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we have had some amazing whiskey on the program today. All of these very special bottles of Maker's Mark, all of them very different, which is, to be honest, you showed up, Rachel, they all look very similar. And I would not have guessed that they would all be as individually different tasting as they are. When did these hit the shelves?
This particular series was from just February.
Okay, so these have only been out for a fairly short time.
And if you're in Texas, I would say run, don't walk while they're still available.
Especially now that we've tasted these and talked about them. It's holy cow. Because Ian and I, if nothing else, Ian and I and Alan will be headed to pick our own.
Directly affecting sales.
Exactly. So what's next? Are you coming out with more of these?
Yes. So, as I mentioned, we have partners all across the country that we do private select with, and partners that are meaningful to us, right? And so, it's not available all the time, but it is available everywhere. Around here in Texas, I would say that if you are a Specs shopper, maybe this summer you can expect to get your just desserts. But that's all I can say about that.
Okay, you're going to have to come back on with that because that sounds too good.
Such a teaser line.
Yes, I love it. So if I'm in, visiting Florida or Arizona or wherever I may be, and I wander into a place, I can pick up a bottle of something there.
Our Florida man, I have a lot of affection for our Florida man. He's never bitten off anybody's face on bath salts that I know of.
So
that's
such a good thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, I will also just mention as we get ready to taste this final beer that ever since the segment where we started this, like my cough hasn't really bothered me.
I told you whiskey.
I told you so.
Totally working.
Whiskey that right away.
Totally
Cask
working.
strength.
Yep, you haven't heard me cough much at all.
You know what I love?
Yeah.
Beer that looks like this.
Yeah, like motor oil is what you're
pretty
saying.
much.
Yeah.
And viscous.
Smells like this, too.
There is viscosity. The first time I ever heard the word viscosity was on a motor oil advertisement on television. But now I understand what
This
it means.
has the viscosity of a slightly used motor oil, but
512 is a brewery in Austin, Texas that is just out of this world good.
So Pecan Porter is kind of a staple for 512. It's amazing. And it's one of the best porters there is. So if you ever happen to be passing through the area or someplace somebody you know lives around here, get some. It's fantastic.
So this is their 2022, correct?
This
Because
is
they do
the
it different every year?
double pecan porter and barrel aged, and it's brutal in the best possible way. Ale brewed with pecans aged in whiskey barrels.
You gotta love that.
Yeah, it's good. 3 months in barrel adds notes of vanilla, oak, and caramel to the chocolate, coffee, and pecan in this luscious beer. So the beer starts off as the basics with those big notes anyway, and then you barrel age it, and it just takes everything to an incredible level on this.
Yeah, it totally does. This has got it's big, it's boozy, and it's wonderful.
I will say it's got like the nose has a bit of kind of smoky barbecue to it that the 512 Pecan Porter, the classic iteration of that, does not have this kind of
love
barbecue
that you know
smoky.
that. Can I just tell you that? I love that you know that.
I am actually a pretty big fan of 512 Pecan Porter. Has been a favorite of mine for a pretty long time.
It's
actually,
a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
And it's just huge. The flavor just goes to 11 on this. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it's all the things you like in there plus extra stuff.
Yeah.
What's the ABV on this one?
9-ish.
So what do we have?
9.5.
So I know all of the whiskeys were overproofed. What were our 3 beers? Was it like 6 and 8 and 9?
We started at 6.8 on the Ingenious. Then we went to 8% on the Dogfish Head. and 9.5 on the double.
So that's our
Concord.
show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here.
I never liked
Seriously,
you after
this,
all.
this was a pretty big show. Rachel, thank you so much for being here on the program
Aw.
today. This was great fun.
It's been such a pleasure. I will be back for my rhubarb cake from
Okay.
Ian's mom.
Well, and I hope
So,
I hope you will also be at our anniversary show. Coming
I
up on
would
the
love
19th.
to. How you're going to fit us all in this room, I don't know,
Oh,
but
it won't be here.
I'll
It won't
be
here.
delighted
It
to
won't
be
be
here.
We'll be outdoors actually, so we can smoke cigars and pipes and whatever else people want to smoke and enjoy great stuff. Want to very quickly say thank you to our special guest from last week, Greg Doxakis from Maison Ferrand, and of course Robert Licorice from Iron
absolutely,
Root.
yeah.
They were so
I
wonderful.
love you, Docs.
Yeah, Docs
is awesome.
Who doesn't love Docs?
Everybody
Yeah,
loves
right.
Docs.
He's
I
so
think that's
good.
I think that's a Dr. Seuss book, isn't it? Everybody loves Docs.
Everybody loves Docs.
Please join us next week. Joe Breda with Old Humble Distilling is going to be on our program. He is a very, very good friend of the show.
He's so fun.
He makes some amazing whiskey, so we're looking forward to being on there, to having him on here. And again, thank you so
He's
much.
right around the corner from Ingenious, by
This
the way.
this was so much fun, though.
Thank you
I
so much
just
for having me.
We had such a good time, and thank you for the amazing whiskey. Please tell your guys they're doing it right.
I'll tell them.
Love them. Have a great week, everybody. And as we like to say at the end of the show, cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Don't leave it so soon. It's alright when it's okay.